what underpins a world order is always the financial system. I was very privileged. My father was an advisor to Nixon when they came off the gold standard in '71, and so I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the financial structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one.
We have seen the development of globalism and the advancement in technology the last 10 years. Global financial elites seem to want to control everything, what you can buy, what you can think, what you can eat. This is the world that we're being plunged into. We're seeing the development of this. The New World Summit, which occurred the last week of March 2022, opened up with the famous phrase, "Are we ready for the new world order?"
And the title of this session, Are we ready for a new world order?
It hosted Forbes' famous Under 30 Forum. All major outlets, news outlets are admitting Global Economic Forum, global government forums, they admit it exists. This is global fascism. Basically corporations running government and controlling people. An ex-WHO employee warns that the world government are doing a power grab. What it's coming down to is who will be deciding your future. Do you value personal autonomy? Do you value medical autonomy, financial autonomy? These are the things that are being discussed today. The globalists seem to want to run everything and turn everything into serfs in a global techno-fascist world. A top economist at the World Government Summit recently said the economies were about to abandon the traditional economy and we're going into and replacing it with digital blockchain. It's not going to be run by people, but it's going to be run by private central banks. Is this all part of the Great Reset? You have heard this statement before the last few years, the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab actually wrote a book about it. In the unforgettable words that they say by 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. But most people are still trying to figure out what that means. But you might ask yourself, how can this happen? The dollar is the world's reserve currency. CNN recently put out an article, Is the dollar in danger? Well, they say in the article, yes, it is. It used to be 90% of the world reserve currency 20 years ago. Now it's 60%, and 2 years ago it was 70%. And most of the losses between 90 and 60 have come within the last few years. And it's accelerating at a rapid pace. In fact, the first year of the Biden administration, the dollar has lost about 30% of its value in the last 8 months. In the last year, it has lost more than half. The dollar seems to be dying a slow death. Our purchasing power seems to be going down, and without many industries in the United States and in the West, we're no longer an agriculture economy anymore. The U.S. may have a great military, they say, but the dollar was his greatest weapon. Now, after 80 years of dollar dominance, the U.S. is in danger of losing the world's reserve status. But you got to ask yourself, why is it losing its world reserve currency? What caused it? Who did it? How can they destroy the dollar? It seems to me that the policies over the last 20, 30 years have caused this. It seems to be a deliberate attempt to destroy the world's reserve currency. First, they deindustrialized the West. They shipped all the manufacturing to the East. They made Western economies a service economy. But those service economy was shut down during the virus fear-mongering the last few years. And now the next step seems to be universal basic income. That will put the nation's economies deeper into debt. Globalists have come out and said, yes, the dollar is dying, everyone is leaving it. Now that there's a war, everyone seems to talk about the yuan and the ruble. But the UN proposes those economies and those currencies are too weak. We will have a global digital currency, a CBDC, a central bank digital currency on a blockchain ledger. And that is what the World Economic Forum is wanting as part of the Great Reset. They want to lower the dollar. Naturally, investors will leave it. Investors in other nations are looking for new currency to invest, and the World Economic Forum introduces the new super currency, the digital one, the programmable one, that controls what you buy, sell, or trade and do, and it surveils pretty much everything. And now it has been announced, and it's available. But what are our leaders doing? What are our leaders doing? This is going on now in giant forums in different parts of the world. They are discussing our future, and they say it's a done deal. So let's pay attention to what they say and what's really going on with the central bank digital currency.
Electronic cash has already been designed in the United States. I don't know if it's going to be called FedCoin, but don't quote me on it. It might be called something else. Call it electronic cash for this purposes. It's designed by MIT in Boston, and it's designed with the idea that at some point your cash that you have in your pocket today, or lack thereof, won't be available to be used. It will be in a digital form. Now you say, well, what's the point of that? And it's already there. Like, I don't even use cash, right? You could say I use my credit card to use my thing. Yeah, to a degree, that's already here. But to a degree, it's not being tracked, and it can be shut off to a certain degree. You can always withdraw cash. As long as you have cash, you have cash. But at some point, cash will not be available. And if they go with the electronic cash, what you'll find is that you will have permission from the government to use the electronic cash. And if you don't use it, it'll expire, like it does in China today. And what you'll find is that that electronic cash will only be used in certain areas. If you go outside that area, it's no good, like they do in China today.
So the UK is currently the head of the G7 group. That's the world's most economically advanced countries. And the UK currently chairs the G7 group. Our Chancellor, who does our economy, called Chancellor of the Exchequer, his name's Rishi Sunak. He put out this video saying that what they want to do is bring in this thing called the central banking digital currency. They want to replace fiat paper money with digital money as a competitor to Bitcoin and crypto money, right? But instead of being decentralized currency, it will be controlled by a government. It's digital currency, but controlled centrally through the banks, Bank of England. So instead of having a bank account with whatever, HSBC or Bank of America, you'll have a bank account directly with, in the American context, with the Fed. In the UK, directly with the Bank of England. You have a personal bank account, and you're given digital money in that bank account. These are called central banking digital currencies. The Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK has already announced their intention to do this as the G7 group. And these, if you look up...
this sounds terrifying.
If you look up the Telegraph newspaper...
Central bank digital currency, is that the one down below?
Digital currency should be programmable. See that one there? Yeah? Why is that word programmable in there? So what they said in that article, and the Chancellor put a video out saying this as well, they've said that this money that you will earn from work, instead of having paper money, you have this digital money. It's programmable so that you can't buy certain foods, or if you do something that your employer doesn't like, it's all in that article. You won't be able to spend your money. In other words, it's not money, they're vouchers. They're like food vouchers. And they can be programmed so that, like the Chinese social credit system, that if you try and use them on a certain thing, it won't work. You say you want to buy a burger and they want you to buy bugs, which is one of the examples used. If you start to try and buy unhealthy meat, it just won't work. You tap your card, you can't buy the thing because you've met your quota that month of burgers. You have to buy something like a vegan meal.
So it won't just be money in the sense of the way we have dollars or pounds today.
Yeah.
It'll be something that's controlled in terms of your ability to distribute it.
Which is why I'm calling it a voucher. It's a coupon.
But even a coupon, if you have a coupon to buy bread, you can still buy the bread.
Yeah.
Like,
But you can't buy, see, that coupon to buy bread, what you can't do is buy a burger with that coupon. It's for bread.
Right.
Yeah?
Right. Do you feel like you're sounding the alarm
Yes.
for people that don't understand what is going on?
So here, I'll pull it up for you here, yeah? So there's the video.
The group of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7, is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside...
Right, so that's the guy who runs our economy in the UK. His name's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And here is the article. Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming, yeah? And here's a quote from the article. Digital cash could be programmed to ensure it is only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible. The checkpoint Charlie exists everywhere. They bring in digital banking, central banking digital currencies. You've got a scenario now that you're checking in and out everywhere you go using vouchers that are programmed and you can only spend where you're told you can spend them. There's another word for that, man. That's called the Chinese social credit system. So what they are telling us, and when I say they, who's they? People in power. That's the head of our economy, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, second most powerful person other than the Prime Minister and maybe the Foreign Secretary in the UK, right? He's telling us, I just played it there for you. He's telling us that's what he, as the UK, the head of the G7, want to bring in for the G7. And if I'm speaking to you the way I'm speaking now, and my employer or government, you heard that in the quote directly, yeah, deems me as saying or doing something inappropriate, suddenly I can't actually pay to come here and speak to you anymore. My digital currency won't even pay for the ticket.
And this is where we get into the kind of censorship that we see in social media that is not... You can't have that kind of censorship with the First Amendment in normal discourse. But you can have that kind of censorship if you've developed a digital platform that distributes information, but it's a private company.
Yeah.
So think about what money is, where you can spend it on whatever you want, versus this digital currency, which is essentially controlled in a sense.
Yeah.
Like you have free speech on Twitter, but you really don't.
Yeah.
Because if you go too far or you talk about something that they don't find appropriate, they'll just ban your account. That could be what we're looking at in terms of what we think of as free speech being social media platforms could be what we think of as your free range ability to buy whatever you want with whatever money that you've earned.
Executive order ensuring responsible development of digital assets. Long story short, our government does not like cryptocurrency. Things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all this stuff, right? People that have them, right? No big deal if you don't know, but there's cryptocurrency that is outside of the bank-regulated government. So you can buy this stuff and trade it in and make some money, or trade it in and do some stuff with it, right? So they don't like it. They don't like that you have it because Joe Biden says, you know, people get money in all sorts of bad ways. It's so corrupt, you know. People, Joe Biden's telling us this, right? What's that?
Paintings from his son.
Oh yeah. People make money, very corrupt. They don't pay taxes, you know, all kind of nefarious ways, of all people, right? And he wants to fight climate change. Therefore, he is developing. He did it already. Executive order, March 9th, by placing an executive order into the research and development of a central bank digital currency. Now, don't let the research and development and all that stuff fool you. It's already done. It's a done deal. It's been a done deal. Working with MIT, or the Boston Federal Reserve, the branch of the Federal Reserve in Boston, working with Massachusetts Institute of Technology for a couple of years already. They have it done. It's all done. It's called the Hamilton Project, just in case you guys wanted to look it up. The Hamilton Project, and it's ready to go. It is a dollar. It's a digital dollar. It's a digital dollar. And what it says in there is that they have worked with the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Now, everybody knows who she is, right? Everybody know who she is? She's so famous. Nobody knows, right? Exactly. Yeah, so this is the executive order was so weird. Director of Office of Science and Technology. Her name is Alondra Nelson. Alondra Nelson. She is a professor at Columbia. Crazy coincidence, right? Social science. Right? At Columbia. Crazy coincidence. She works for the World Economic Forum. Wow. Unbelievable, right? That wonderful organization that really cares for people, that really wants to bring about the best in everyone. She works for them, and they're going to bring out a digital currency in which they will be able to develop future money, research it, and be able to control the monetary system. I'm just reading it off the thing. And it will be critical to stabilize the economy. So inflation is going through the roof. And they said, you know what's a good way to control the economy? What's a good way to control what people buy? A digital currency. This is all in the executive order. This is probably the biggest news, probably bigger than the war, honestly. Because what they're trying to do is basically their answer to your problems of inflation is the government, central bank, giving you a digital currency, a digital dollar, in which they will control with a password that is at the Federal Reserve level. Yeah, you see where this is going, right? And they say this helps stabilize inflation. And what they mean by that is you can't pay your rent, you can't pay for food, you can't pay for gas. We're going to store all this money into this digital currency. And you can come and get it. All you have to do is sign up and get it. And it's all yours. And by the way, you can transfer all of your assets and give a little exchange for all your assets. We'll give you a digital currency. So bring your $100 bills. We'll give you money for it, right? What they say is, this is Janet Yellen. They want to do this social equity. They want to do this in a redistribution and social equity, which means this. This is my opinion. This is not what she said, but they said social equity and redistribution. This is my opinion. If you're white, you might get 40 cents, 50 cents on the dollar. If you are, black, lesbian, Muslim, or something like that, right? You might get $1.25 or $1.50, right? Because it's social equity that, hey, you have a lot of money, we're going to give you 50 cents on the dollar for the digital currency. You'll have a few years to turn everything in. And if you are, let's say, a certain class, not just minorities, a certain class of minorities. That means that you have to be like, some kind of, think of the worst thing, like, a 300-pound, someone, right? And because you've been oppressed, we'll give you more for your dollar, right? So that's the reality of where this is going. Digital currency. But we could lose the petrodollar. Yes, that's the point. Do you get it? That's the point. It is a purposeful destruction of the dollar to go to this one because it is a more stable currency in there. Yeah, stable means control.
And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. In my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. But also, this new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private, but what I see are superpowers introducing digital currency. The Chinese were the first. The US is on the brink, I think, of moving in the same direction. The Europeans have committed to that as well.
The world will be run on social credit system. What is a social credit system? Your obedience to the government will determine how much points you have in a social media type setting. Sounds like a movie? Yeah, I've seen it before. It didn't end well. And anyway, Dark Mirror, so one of the episodes. So please don't email me and tell me I hated that, so why did you recommend it? I'm just relating it to the fact that one of the episodes mirrors what's going on, right? No pun intended, Dark Mirror. But that's the social credit system. It's a real system in China where people are allowed to buy, sell, go to concerts, travel the subway, get on an airplane, if you comply with the government's mandates. If you don't comply, your score goes really low. And you're not able to do those things. And it sounds like a fun world, isn't it? No, not at all. It's a dystopian world. And like I said, you want to, stop the movie, stop the world, I want to get off, just stop the movie. It's not a movie, it's real life. And people are realizing all of a sudden that, hey, did the Bible speak about this before? Yes, it did. Did the Bible tell us how it's going to end? Yes, it did. It does. And it doesn't end well for those who submit to the government's wishes and mandates. It doesn't end well for those who worship the beast. It ends well for those who follow Christ, even though there'll be turbulent times.
Where is this going? The last 2 years have showed us that our world can change very quickly. The health event of the last 2 years, which led to the medical procedure that determined your social status and whether you can buy at the stores or be allowed to travel or be seen at a hospital, people have speculated that this is the mark of the beast or the mark of the Antichrist from the Holy Bible, Revelation 13. He will be a global ruler who will be worshipped and seek to control all men through his mark, the mark of the beast. The medical procedure is just the beginning. The digital and social IDs are next, which in combination with CBDCs and global digital currency will create a way for governments to track not only your health, your finance, but your identity. Many Christians over the years have speculated what will be the mark of the beast, what will ultimately look like. The Bible makes it clear that this mark will be a permission to control economic transactions. No one can buy, sell, or trade unless you have the name of the Antichrist or his number of his name. The number is 666. This mark is given to those who worship the Antichrist or his image, and the mark is received on the right hand or the forehead. Some have said that this mark is strictly spiritual, and therefore there's no need to worry about any real thing coming down in history. I believe the Bible is clear. I believe the Bible is clear that this will be a real mark given to those who worship the Antichrist or his image with real consequences, meaning death, if you reject it. I believe we're seeing the beginnings of an attempt by globalist techno-fascists to control humanity and recreate humanity in their own image. Ultimately, this is the plan of Satan to control and destroy humanity and usher in the Antichrist or the man of sin into the arena. We don't know what the mark of the beast will ultimately look like, but we can see the road being paved for this ultimate control of humanity, of health, of finance, and identity. The only thing we haven't seen yet is the religious aspect. Once a religious aspect is introduced to a global control of CBDCs and global digital identity, then we can be more certain that the mark of the beast is getting closer and closer. As Christians, we believe the mark of the beast is coming, but along with it, the Antichrist and Satan, it will be defeated by the appearance of Jesus Christ on the earth. We urge all who watch and are paying attention to read their Bibles and put their trust in Jesus Christ. The Bible speaks a lot about the times in which we live in. All things seem to be pointing to events the Bible is very clear that leads to the return of Jesus Christ. Put your trust in him who died for you and your sins. Turn from sin and turn to God. Read your Bible and begin to obey what it says. Watch, pray, and be alert. This is Marco Quintana. Thank you for listening.